Pickerel Lake State Forest Campground is located in the northern part of Michigan's Lower Peninsula, about 10 miles to the northeast of Vanderbilt. The campground sits along the side of Pickerel Lake and is off Pickerel Lake Road. Once there at the campground, the first thing you come to is the campground billboard and signage. The campground does have 39 campsites. They cost $20 a night each. Here's some interesting signage that was on that billboard. Apparently, they've had issues with a lot of rock painting going on here at this campground. So please do not paint on the rocks and take away from the wilderness view of this middle of nowhere campground. I'm definitely not going to walk around and show all 39 campsites, but I'm going to give you a good idea of what the campsites look like here. So we'll head into the campground, and I'm not going to go in any specific order because there's a couple different loops here to the campground. And here you can see we're actually at campsite number 2, which is a pretty big campsite. Most of the campsites here are fairly large, and you come up to those first couple of campsites before you even enter the main part of the campground. I'm parked in campsite number 3, and I'm parked up towards the front of the campsite by the road, and look at all the space still behind my vehicle. The campsites are really large. Most of them are pretty deep, and then it has a nice bow out area where they have the picnic table and the fire ring, so plenty of space in almost all of the campsites here at the campground. You can see campsite number 4 is the exact same way, a really large campsite. This one bows and turns back in there really deep. They're just all really nice campsites here. There is a large dumpster, and that large dumpster is right back at the beginning where that sign was that leads you left or right. The dumpster had a little bit of odor to it, I won't lie. I definitely wouldn't want to camp near that dumpster. And given the location of the area up here, it wouldn't surprise me if there's some dumpster diver bears that come into this campground every once in a while. It doesn't look like it's a common thing. There definitely were not postings for bear, but we're in bear territory here. You can definitely get the feeling just walking through here, looking at all the different campsites, that this campground is well maintained. Like I said, there's 39 sites here, and I have a feeling that it fills up pretty good on busy weekends. I'm here middle of the week, early June, and it's like 80 degrees out. It's super nice weather, and some of the campsites are being used, but there's only like 3 or 4 different setups here at this campground right now. So perfect time to come if you're looking for more solitude. Would be middle of the week, early in this season. I'm going to walk up in this actual campsite again just to show you how deep and how nice these campsites are. You got a big shade tree right in the middle of your campsite. Didn't have any issues with bugs at all. Most of the campsites are spaced out a little bit so you don't have an opportunity to see your neighbor, but some of them on the loops are a little bit closer together so you can look over and see the neighbors over there. But again, they're big enough campsites that you shouldn't have a whole lot of problem. There is a hiking trail that runs through the campground. It's called the Pickerel Lake Loop, and that loop is about a 2-mile long hike that just takes you through the woods and through some nice cedar swamps. It's more of a bird viewing type loop or just to get out and hike. There is a little bit of a climb, gives you a good overhead view of the campground, but it's not a super long hike, so you don't have to worry about getting in too deep over your head if you're not a regular hiker. You can see there's a little bit left to be desired for the outhouses here. That one wasn't super clean, but it also wasn't smelly. It wasn't something that's so repulsive you wouldn't want to use it. Here you can also see that some of the campsites might not have a direct neighbor beside you, but there might be one right across the road from you. So keep that in mind also. I'm sure on a busy weekend you're not going to be totally secluded here, and you're more likely to want to find a secluded state forest campground that only has a handful of sites if you're looking to get away from people. Here at the very end of this video, I'm going to definitely fly the drone over the lake so you guys can have a good idea of what the lake looks like. None of these campsites sit so close to the water that you can just get right there and walk down super easy to the water's edge and launch a canoe or kayak. But there is a little boat landing area that's just up the road, so we'll definitely take a look at that. Now you can start to see there's a few biting flies here. Again, I didn't have a problem with them. They flew around me a little bit, but they were definitely not biting me. I didn't want to put on bug spray at any point, so I wouldn't complain about the bugs at this location. I was going to walk down to the boat launch area, and in fact I did, but there were a bunch of people down there swimming with little kids, and I didn't want to be weird and start videotaping other people's kids just to show you guys what that looked like. So instead, I'm going to fly the drone over the lake, and then I'll turn back and give you a good view of the boat ramp from the air. You can see it's not a huge lake, but at the same time, it's not super small. I mean, it'd be a little bit of work to kayak or canoe all the way across. You can see a boat down there, and it looks tiny in the water, so definitely not as big as like a Burt Lake or something like that, but it's not like it's just a little speck of water in the middle of the national forest either. Supposedly the lake is pretty decent fishing for some rainbow trout, largemouth bass, and it supposedly has quite a few bluegill in it. So definitely come out here prepared to fish a variety of different species here in the lake, especially if you're looking to catch your own dinner. Here's a quick look at the boat landing area. I'm going to get pretty close to it here so you can kind of see there's some parking space there. There's a spot for your family to go down, have a picnic, maybe do some fishing from shore. And that road and that trail lead you right back into the campground, which we're over top of now. And just, you can see the campground's completely enclosed in trees, so very little sunshine is really going to get through. You're not exposed to the elements super bad. You're completely wooded, which makes this campground super quiet and peaceful.